Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Jared. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. Now, this morning, for off rip, if you watch the piece of content I made this morning, I want to apologize in advance for my language. I don't really handle racism very well as a white cis male living in the time frame of this regime. And I want to start by saying fuck Benny Johnson in the face with a hammer for saying that neighborhoods in Washington, D.C. should be raised. And I don't mean RAISED, I mean raised, as in fucking bombed, as in the Tulsa Race Massacre, as in what is happening on the Gaza Strip. And for those of you that don't know who Benny Johnson is, that's a good thing. I'm glad that you don't know who that is either. And then Markwayne Mullins, that pussy that tried to fight president of a union in the halls of Congress, said on Fox News last night that he drives around with his seatbelt off in Washington D.C. because he's scared that he was going to get carjacked. And I just wanted to point out how racist it is to say that we should be bombing neighborhoods in America, turning them into dirt. Again, I want to make sure that we also say, all that horrible shit that we keep seeing happening in Israel. Um, don't act like that shit's not gonna happen here. So when I make a video and I call people a bitch and a pussy, I'm trying to draw their ire, right? Because right now they're attacking effectively with their language people that I care about, right? People that I feel like I'm here to protect. Um, Warren Beck, C. Scab, Dubs, care. Sorry for calling two grown men a bitch and pussies. Um, I don't aren't great words for people that are trying to tell people we need to bomb whole neighborhoods in Washington D.C. Burn them to the ground. I think that's what Benny Johnson said. hmm And then, like I said, Markwayne Mullins uh, is a pussy and a bitch. Remember, Markwayne Mullins is the guy that tried to fight the president of a union on the floor of Congress, and the guy was like, "Let's go outside." Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Um, hey, good morning, Danielle. Hey, Bob. Good news is NPR might be able to stay afloat with just the money they make from suing the shit out of Alex Jones. Also, fuck Alex Jones. I'll never forgive him after the Sandy Hook massacre. Um, the way he called what happened um, like fake news and shit and said it was set up. I want to make sure that we use our platform every day. Slava Ukraine, free Palestine, unabashed, unashamed. Yeah, Debs, I appreciate you. I don't know, man. Like, I was doing real good. I was doing real good until I saw a couple clips yesterday, and I've been angry ever since. I've been, my teeth have been chattering. I've been so mad. Um, Just because, like, I have a sense of things that you, I mean, shit, like, there's just things that you should and should not say. Um, because it has a negative impact. But honestly, I wish the same energy on those men that they put out. I wish the same energy on you that you put out. If you're if the energy that you put out is violence, I hope it returns to you like a fucking boomerang. And it will. And it will. hmm I won't have to I won't have to make very many of them videos. I won't have to make very many of them videos. Because once people see what those people said, Jesus Christ. Former Republican candidate Solomon Pena sentenced to 80 years in federal prison Wednesday for his convictions in a series of drive-by shootings at the homes of state and local lawmakers in Albuquerque in the aftermath of the 2020 election. Shows their desperation for control they don't have. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I want to continue to point this out, and I saw another video I saw this morning was a white cis male left-leaning content creator that was lying about Washington D.C. and saying, "Oh, they turned the D.C. metro into Fallujah," and I watched another content creator just kind of take him down and say, I used to live in DC and I got friends in DC, and so I just asked them what it's like living in DC, and they said nothing's changed. There's tons of feds and police and federal agents around, like that, and that's normal. Um, and I want to continue to point out the lack of shooty shooty bang bang, and mostly it looks like a bunch of wannabes harassing the locals. Uh huh. So, on the one hand, they're absolutely pushing the limits of constitutional power. And on the other hand, they're getting nowhere close. So, they resort to the sort of violent language that has been used in the last 24 to 48 hours, which led to my post this morning where I was just like, fuck these people. Like, are you kidding me? You're not nearly as powerful as you think you are. Yeah, yeah. Crush. That's what we call armed conflict. Shooty shooty bang bang. For those of us that like actually, and I always continue to point out, I am not a war hero, but I know some. But I worked armed and unarmed security for about 15 years in the Indianapolis area, and I have been both shot and shot at. So, as I may have not spilled blood for the U.S. of A., but I've had mine spilled, and I've returned fire. hmm And I've worked in concert with a police officer making an arrest, which is, again, more than I can say for most cops and veterans. We stopped a network of thieves that were stealing baby formula and diapers to sell it at a premium. Would do is they'd go into like a dollar store in a poor area, and it's like the only place you could get formula within like walking distance. And I never worked at the Dollar General during the daytime, so I couldn't even tell you about their clientele. I don't know. But when we caught them, loading a back of a pickup truck full of diapers, um, and they shot me and shot at me immediately, without any hesitation, by the way. And this was 20 years ago. hmm And I requested for backup before I got into the shit, and so a cop showed up and went around the building while I went through, and we both ended up at the same spot. And the two guys that fell out of that truck while the other guy drove off ratted out their friends. hmm After he shot at us and shot me, I had a little scar on my shoulder, just a little graze, no big deal. I finished my shift after receiving treatment. The adrenaline was enough. hmm I didn't even need stitches. I had the fucking Wolverine healing factor at that fucking point. I could have run through plate glass. Like, what? So, we call it shooty shooty bang bang. Uh, it is. It is pretty fucking wild. So I know we all saw our hero um, throw a sandwich at a federal agent. Well, he's getting federal assault charges. So, oh! The Treasury Department said that the deficit hit 37 trillion. By the way, remember how Donald Trump was going to reduce the deficit? Mm, 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 mm. Hey, one thing that we should not do is when you enact justice, you shouldn't follow it up by stalking the CEO of United Healthcare's family. I just want to throw this out there that Brian Thompson, rest in pieces. Uh, when he died, it ended. That ended. You don't like kill his family too. I just want to throw that out there. Like Jesus Christ. The next president should pardon the sandwich assaulter. I want to continue to point out that three times in the last 1 week, the White House has ordered a review of exhibits at the Smithsonian. Okay? Oh my God. For a group of people that called us, hey, hey, I'm, you know what I'm, the thing about it is, nobody's watching this that should. You know what I mean? Because, hey, there's a big ass fucking flood in Alaska, in Juneau. I don't know how far Anchorage and Juneau are from each other. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about that. I don't actually care how far apart they are. Okay? Yeah. See, so I think I posted that in the Discord yesterday. And posted, I want the energy that these people put out to return to them. I don't know what that looks like for the guy, the guy angrily ripping down the the Trump is a pedo sign. It's the land of the free. But yeah, I'm just making sure you know. Okay, so check this out. A U.S. teenage influencer has been trapped, stranded in the Chilean Antarctic since landing without permission. Hey, you know what? How long? That's been for a while now. Yeah, you've been there for a while. It's a wild story. Don't grow up to be an influencer. Been stuck since June, so basically a couple months. See, this kind of shit, we gotta stop. Here's Peru enacts amnesty for military and police accused of human rights abuses. Okay? Yeah, the authoritarian playbook tells them to alter history, to change the facts. Remember the alpha premise history written by the victors, right? There's a reason they hate Anne Frank so much, is because she's not seen as a victor, right? And she still got the word out. Who had domestic charges against him? Yep. People always say, like, don't teach kids violence, but in Lithuania, they're teaching all their kids how to fly drones to counter the Russian threat. And I want to continue. I want to point this out. Not only is this person a black person, I bet you $100 Donald Trump does not bring this person up and say, look at the U.S. grand jury indicting one of Haiti's most powerful gang leaders. Jimmy Cherizier Barbecue, a leader of a gang federation called Vive Azanam, designated as a foreign terrorist organization in May, lives in Haiti. Remember that absolute power corrupts absolutely. Remember that I told you that. Jimmy Cherizier? I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Interesting. I just noticed somebody's dog's barking. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Val. I think we talked about this yesterday about a Taiwanian um, typhoon, Podul. I mean, it feels like this story on fucking repeat. But here's the IDF firing on Palestinians after Bibi said they could leave. Oh, I think we talked about this, but we should still talk about this. So, almost no one's been arrested in Washington, D.C. because D.C. is nearly crime free, especially after January 6, 2021. Mhm. So, remember that the entire thing is racism. I want to continue to racism and political. So, not the federalization of the DC police, the bringing out of the guard, the the calling in of military. The reason is it's 76% Democrat and 45% non-white. And up until last year, it was also half of the non-white population in Washington D.C. was black, and Washington D.C. represents like a petri dish. It's the melting pot of America. It has a super diverse group of people living there, and like I said, up until like last year, half of that non-white population was black people. So remember, it's about the racism. It has almost always been about the racism, and in the future, you can almost certainly point to racism as the reason why they started in DC. A lot of people try to be like, oh, it's because the rules are different in DC. And it's like, nope, nope. It's called the rule of big numbers. If there's a number or two numbers that stick the fuck out about an area, you can bet someone with a fourth grade reading level looked at big numbers and said, oh, heavily Democrat, heavily people of color, burn it to the ground. And if you look at that situation and you say, there's no fucking way that's what Donald Trump did, I'm sorry, you think too much of him. Why do you think he threatened Chicago and LA and Atlanta? He might as well have just said, we're going to kill all the black people. That would have been more direct and people would have got it. Hmm. But instead, it happens in Washington, D.C., and a bunch of people are like, you know what? It's crime ridden. Nope. Nope. The data doesn't says that. My cousin's son attends George Washington University. He's going back next week. She's worried about him. He's half Cuban. So, I sent my black athletes to um, HBCUs because I wanted them to survive. And they're happy. Hope they enjoy college. You know, I mean, I went to college in the wake of 9/11. You know what I mean? Melania demanded $1 billion from Hunter Biden over his Epstein claims. I would love, I would love for Hunter Biden to sue the fuck out of Melania Trump, or Melania Trump to sue Hunter Biden, and that go to Discovery. People don't understand. If there's pictures and video, yeah, George Washington, GWU. Hmm. Yep. I would champion Purdue, but they placated the fascists, so fuck them. Um, I saw that UCLA rejected the anti-trans shit coming from this administration, and the only problem is I would have just become a UCLA fan. Um, been so safe overall, no issues at all until now. Yeah, and again, I want to point out I don't live in Washington D.C. I haven't been there, and I don't watch traffic cams because I have things to do. But I want to point out in terms of yeah, I would you know what I would happily watch whatever you want to watch as long as it's Melania suing fucking Hunter Biden. I want to see them make out and fuck in public. Just because I want Donald Trump to have a fucking heart attack and die. Because I know a lot of women think Hunter Biden's hot. So, by the way, Gavin Newsom is a fucking menace. Gavin Newsom's fucking social media manager is a menace. Okay? I'm not at all saying that he should be president, but like this is the fucking energy I need. This is the fucking energy I need. And not cuz I think it's ultimately correct. Not that I think it's ultimately correct. I don't. I'm more for the be proper and shit. You're an elected official. Yeah, you good looking and smart. Mm. Zeke said he should get himself a Puerto Rican woman. Look. I, as a straight white male, can look at another man and say he's drowning in it. Hmm. He just wakes up and he's just swimming in a pile of cat. I'm just telling you, you talking about he needs to get himself a singular individual when his house probably looks like a harem. You know what I mean? Yeah. Gavin Newsom typing in all caps, talking like Donald Trump. For the record, completely shut Donald Trump off. He doesn't know what to do. Somebody's stealing his style, and they're better than him because they use mostly complete sentences and can also put out multiple messages in a day, and Donald Trump don't have to gas for that. Hmm. But yeah, my ire today is aimed directly at Mark Wayne Mullen and Benny Johnson. You racist fucks. I hope you get eat some Luigi energy. Younger and hotter. You know, every time Gavin's hot, Melania thinks so too. Yeah, I know. Melania did everything but smack him on the ass. In 2019, Jeffrey Epstein said that Donald Trump was his closest friend for 10 years. JP's giving it back to him also. Well, we need all the Democrats to just stand up, take them fucking gloves off, turn them fucking trigger fingers into Twitter fingers and get to fucking work. You know what I mean? Donald Trump, I've said, have I not said this for a long time? This is not the regime that you need to be violent against. This is the regime that can be defeated with a meme. Like, these motherfuckers are so soft. So fucking soft. she Debs, she was leaning like Donald leans. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? She had that like forward lean, like she was about to fall into his arms and shit. They were about to have a cuddle in the fucking on the tarmac. You know what I mean? I'm tired of the Cuomo family arrogance reign in New York City and don't even live in New York City. Let's go Zoran. Yeah, yeah. I recently heard someone call Zoran Mamdani an animal. And here's the thing, there's two ways to take that. First, it's fucking racist and I hate whoever said it, but on the second hand, look, I'm a white cis male, okay? The only time anybody's ever referred to me as an animal is while I was on active duty, when I was in the best shape of my life. And if you'd have called us animals, oh, we'd have ate that shit up. They called us fucking pit bulls in a cage, son. We used to get drunk and somebody would be the handler and somebody else would be the dog, and we just make stupid shit videos of us pretending to be pit bulls in cages. So like I said, uh, I think uh, it's racist, but also I choose to use things as motivation that I probably should not use as motivation. Bob said, "Keep the comedy coming." Hey, you know what? It's nonsense. This entire regime is just fucking nonsense. And I got stressed over the abject racism because the thing about Benny Johnson is that he's young and he'll just keep doing that. And Mark Wayne Mullen, they're like the future. The CDC shooter was motivated by RFK Jr. I'm saying that. By the way, I want to continue to point out that what Republicans were doing in Texas, a mid decade redistricting, is just a gerrymandering attempt, and Dems actually won that shit because that legislative session ended without a vote. Now they'll call another one. I would abandon again and fuck them. Fuck the Republican Party. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, look at those shoulders. You can tell they're demoralized. Look at those officers in the front with their shoulders drooping. Aw, aw. USDA spent thousands on giant Trump banners as it was cutting aid to schools and food banks. So remember, remember that USAID and the cuts made to USAID will have a long-term impact on the starving children of the world, and I want to continue to point out that that's a war tactic. It's also a war crime. Intentionally starving someone is a war crime. I want to continue to point out that the President of the United States got into office and tried to delegitimize the ICC. hmm And I want to continue to point out that as long as the genocide doesn't happen on American soil, the ICC has jurisdiction wherever that genocide took place. So that means all this nasty shit going down in Gaza. See, I think what happened is that a lot of people got brainwashed into thinking like, oh, I mean, think about President Biden. Think about Joe Biden saying they're late in his presidency when asked about what would happen if Donald Trump became president, and he said, "Oh, like I'd like to think he's turned a corner." Right? Wrong. Joe Biden was fucking wrong. Right? The one time. All them other times, other than when he went fucked over the railroad union. Other than that, and oh, by the way, other than when Joe Biden signed that massive contract when he first got into office, who was that? Was it Northrop Grumman? Like $275 million or some shit. Anyway, so here's the thing: why I could never be president. Okay, fuck the military-industrial complex. You know why? I was on active duty in the Marine Corps Infantry. We give all this money to the military industrial complex, and what do the Marines on the ground get? Nothing. So fuck them. Fuck that. Part of the reason that the military industrial complex exists is because the physical requirements for being in the military are too stringent and for some people. Mm. Meaning all the people that never served but wanted to, but I would have punched a drill instructor that ended up working for some fucking OGA and being a contractor and shit. 99% of the time, not a grunt. I want to continue to point this out. 99% of the time, if you were in like the infantry and you like got shot at or got shot or some horrible shit happened, you probably not going to be anywhere near that the rest of your life. So the only people that would want to be anywhere near that are the wannabes. Again, the supply guys that become hard chargers. Yep. Well, Gabby, the thing about that is I haven't actually seen Mike Johnson in a while. So, uh, Over the Hill, or whatever her name is, something the Hill, she said that Benny Johnson's, not Benny Johnson, Mike Johnson's missing, and she wouldn't be surprised if people went AWOL, like Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, yep, they're all getting in trouble. Hmm. Once you use the military for a police state. And I think we are just 5 days from the Epstein files being released. Fuck you, fuck you. Here's The Nation talking about we gotta release the Epstein files. No shit. Democrats are panicking over Mamdani. I saw Beto O'Rourke speaking very positively about Mamdani. Democrats say Trump is illegally blocking them from visiting ICE. How is Donald Trump able to do all of these things? It's like he's everywhere. Uh oh. Donald Trump has started using dehumanizing memes, and this is a jump to violence. I want to continue to point out that Donald Trump is a pussy as well. He always chickens out, and you'll notice the lack of gunfire, the lack of I don't know, airstrikes, drones, the use of the force of the U.S. military on its own people would never start with people. I want to continue to point this out. I want to continue to say it into a camera because people are dumb as fuck and it irritates the shit out of me. But I can promise you, no one in the military is putting boots on the ground anywhere when they have all this other shit back here that can be like unmanned and shit. You know, one of the things that I was watching World Aid Runners this morning. They're in Ukraine, and they were saying that we won't apologize for banger memes. Hey, hey, listen, listen. I didn't think you could tweet yourself into the White House. Hey, I didn't. I never thought you could actually tweet your way into the presidency. But you know what? Miller's like a cockroach. Yeah, yeah. He's impotent. He's impotent, and again, I want the same energy to return to him that he puts out. He's unarmed. So is Benny Johnson and Mark Wayne Mullen. The worst people have the most power. Yeah, by the way, I saw, first of all, I think that was JD Vance's wife, or was it Stephen Miller's wife, talking about he only eats mayonnaise. Is that a he's racist statement wrapped in a this is all he eats statement? Yeah, that it made it seem like he drinks cum. That's what his wife made it seem like. That's why generally speaking, if they're married to a fascist, they're idiots. Like what the fuck? Now, if it was JD Vance's wife talking about how much he loves mayo, mayo makes couches more fuckable. So now we're starting to make some fucking sense. So I want to make sure that we're not talking about JD Vance having a love for mayo. Because if that was a fucking case, that makes the couches thing fucking facts in the brain. I'm like, he fucked the couch. Why? Because he's obsessed with mayonnaise, right? Sorry, Haya. I know you just walked in on that. But yeah, it was Stephen Miller's wife. So we're talking about two different situations. Um, that would explain. It doesn't explain everything, but like every time I see his face, I'm like baseball bat. You know what I mean? Like I can't. It's wild. Like I'm just like, how is he still here? It's so weird. JD said he loves barbecue sauce. Yeah, yeah. Again, I just want to point out how I'm in the dumbest motherfucking timeline. All cartoon clowns. Yeah, I was gonna say if it's JD Vance that's obsessed with mayonnaise, then him fucking couches checks out because then mayonnaise is just lube. Um, but it was Stephen Miller. But that makes sense why they would be friends. Barbecue sauce and couches. You know why I don't want to have this conversation? Because you know what my wife would say? Well, my husband's favorite sauce is yum yum sauce. Fuck out of here. I want to point out that the President of the United States, twice in the same speech in the last week, has said that he's meeting Vladimir Putin in Russia when he's meeting Vladimir Putin in Alaska. And again, I want to point out that Donald Trump's going to give Alaska to Russia. Oh, and by the way, also I felt like I read that Donald Trump was gonna get Vladimir Putin to negotiate by giving him minerals, like jewelry. Also mentioned a land swap. See, hiya. Yep. See, I was one of those people I could never figure it out. Chicken fried rice. Like why when I like we have this place in Indy. See, I've been trying to tell people y'all gotta come here and be my neighbor. hmm We got a wing place that's like a Captain Jay's. No, it's not Captain Jay's. That's another place. But anyway, there's this place, and though you get like 10 wings, two flavors, plus chicken fried rice. I ain't never eaten chicken fried rice. Like it's bland. Throw some yum yum on your fucking chicken fried rice, and you now have one of the better tasting food items ever. Chicken fried rice plus yum yum, and you can get a little bit of sriracha in your yum yum. Eh, eh. Even the sauce knows it's good. See, see. Somebody said they're gonna exchange rings. You think they'll hold hands? Concerned about Friday for sure. What's tomorrow? What's tomorrow? Is that the meeting? I'm not. I'm not concerned. The whole point is that Donald Trump is trying to distract you from Epstein. And the thing about it is, here's what I've figured out. Okay? Donald Trump is not trying to cover up this Epstein shit for the reasons that we think it is. I want to continue to point this out. Okay? I I think that man, Donald J. Trump, his wives, his kids, he used his kids. His best friend, Jeffrey Epstein, his best friend's wife, Ghislaine Maxwell, they ran an international sex trafficking ring for the better part of 20 years. And everybody not named Donald Trump's job was to connect Donald Trump with the wealthy and the powerful all over the world and incriminate them and have the ability to say, hey, these. I forgot what I was saying. But yeah, I think he absolutely is tied up in world politics behind the scenes. And if the Epstein list comes out, it now connects Donald Trump with a whole bunch of fucking people. And I don't care if they're left, right, or center. So that ain't what I'm saying. Keep this in mind. This is not me saying they should keep this shit quiet. This is me saying we should be as loud as fuck about this because what I'm saying is it's awful. It's fucking heinous. You ran a sex trafficking ring for the better part of 20 years. That's awful. It's fucking heinous. But what I'm saying is, in that time frame, the current president of the United States gained access to fucking world leaders who would fuck kids. And they took pictures and video, and they have the ability to extort these world leaders. And I absolutely, absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Oh no. No, Haya. Bob said, just had a happy family fried rice with last night with sriracha. Delicious, just getting over the heart palpitations. Agent said Alaska's not his to give. Exactly. But yeah, the reason it's like I used to want the Epstein list to get released because I was empathetic towards all the victims. And now I'm like, because I'm empathetic to all the victims, I'm aware now that there are powerful people on this planet that Donald Trump cavorted with. Not just Jeffrey Epstein. World leaders, business leaders, Bill Gates. Hmm? And I think the reason he doesn't want the Epstein list released is because it shows his ties to all these other world leaders, and it's real easy to figure out why do all these world leaders capitulate to Donald Trump? Because Donald Trump had them in the presence of fucking minors and has pictures and videos, and he's extorted the shit out of them, blackmailed the fuck out of them, for sure. For sure. And it's all about money. Donald J. Trump knows he's a fucking loser and he ain't gonna leave nothing to these fucking kids. So what is he gonna do? He's gonna finagle his way into owning a resort on the Gaza Strip with the protection of the Iron Dome from Israel, who moves in next door. And if he has it his way, the U.S. will build a military base there, and then he'll have a guaranteed cash cow for his kids forever because he owns the land next to a U.S. military base on foreign soil, hmm which happens to be Israel now. hmm And so if you think that Israel is doing all that shit to Palestine because that's in their military interest, you're out of your fucking mind. But Ivana and Daddy have sex in common. Ooh, they trafficked the fuck out of her. Ooh, wouldn't be surprised if he trafficked his own fucking kids. I mean, that's why they defend him so hard. It's because they don't want that truth to come out either. Mm, 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 mm. Here's the problem, Hayas said. I don't. I do not hear Epstein. Okay, it was. Can't hear it. Here's the problem. I do not hear Epstein out of the mouths of people who should be shouting those words. Right. I think it's because they flood the zone every day, and they're attempting to constantly distract us. My thing is, I'm not getting distracted. I'm saying every day until justice is served, the President of the United States, his wives, his children, that man used his own children. And I'm talking about Donald J. Trump, who worked with his best friend, Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey Epstein's wife, Ghislaine Maxwell. Ran an international sex trafficking ring for the better part of 20 years. And it wasn't all for the pussy. I want to point this out, as derogatory as that sounds. It was so that Donald Trump could build a network of people he could blackmail forever. And oh, by the way, Donald Trump has managed to keep himself relatively unscathed, right? It's a hoax. It didn't exist. The Democrats wrote it. The FBI wrote it. Comey and Ray wrote it. My name's planted, right? Remember that I told you he was the primary financier. 89% of the transactions conducted between Jeffrey Epstein and another person, 90% of those were Donald Trump for his life. Donald Trump put $1 billion into Jeffrey Epstein. $1 billion. Who said were they married? I think they call themselves partners. Many witnesses have said they have every corner of Epstein's island and New York City mansion on camera. Epstein. Yep. Just, I think every Democrat should be saying Epstein just like every Republican says Biden. Hunter Biden, by the way. I think what happened is that MAGA feels threatened by Hunter Biden. Because Hunter Biden looks, he's like a younger, good looking version of his dad. He could easily win an election. Especially with the pictures of him swimming in pussy. The fuck out of here. Even fucking hardcore MAGA is gonna be like, you know what? He gets laid. Uh, what's he gonna be like as president? You know what I mean? Like even. Mhm. Well, here, and I'm gonna. This is the most smart ass shit I could ever say. You ready? Because there's 25 people in here. It's the biggest show we've ever had. The day after our 9 month anniversary, I might add. Um, if y'all would like, comment, and share on my content on YouTube and TikTok, we would have a lot more momentum. Just so you know. Like, I'm not gonna beg you to do that. I've never begged for likes, comments, shares, and shit. But if you want to see change in the world, you really do, there are 25 people in here. And if y'all just decided the media ain't doing it, the elected officials ain't doing it, Jared does it every fucking day. Every goddamn day. He posts the president of the United States ran a sex trafficking ring. And you know what? I would love to see y'all like, comment, and share on those videos. Do you? Do I beat you up about it? But you want to get a message somewhere. If you're all working in concert, you're going to get a lot farther than lone wolf. Hmm? So again, I'll never beg you to do anything, but I'm just pointing that out. There's 25 people in here. If think about 25 likes, 25 comments, 25 shares, men on every video I make every morning, and I don't make videos all day every day. I make like one a day. Hmm? If you would do that, 25 comments, 25 shares, 25 likes on every video, minimum, space. Space. I don't care what it is. I don't care what the content is. If I sit there and talk about video games, there's a reason. There's a reason I talk about video games. It's because shit's bubbling up. People are being radicalized. Every single day, someone wakes up and a fucking little light bulb went off in their head. Then they will never be the fucking same. And the thing about it is, they can either run into my content or they can run into all these other idiots' content. And I'm only me, right? I want to give you a shout out on Project Next, but I'm concerned if they will ask you to hop on one of their episodes and just talk about politics and your tales about it. Well, I don't know that that would be a bad thing. It's about managing, you know what I mean? Like the difference between me and most people is that I have media training. I've been through classes paid for by Vox Media. Hmm. So, and that's one thing I've known is I try to follow Indiana-based creators. I've tried to connect with, um, but I hate to be like this. I blew up fast. On TikTok, I went from a new account to being like a pretty good sized account blazingly fast. And there are people that have spent years on this platform and aren't able to do that. Um, and so one of the things I am concerned is about, like, I try to connect with other creators and be like, hey, I support you, even though you know you don't necessarily make like the content I would support. You have a you know a lot of these people have like lives and a range of content they put out that doesn't necessarily like produce a message. But what I've been yeah, I think being a socialist and people being fucking uneducated means that they once they find out that I'm a socialist, they're like, oh, well, he's opposed to democracy. He's an enemy of democracy, and it's like, no, we just live in a two-tier justice system that disproportionately impacts people of color, women, and the LGBTQIA plus, while leaving the perpetrator, white cis males, free to do whatever the fuck they want. And democracy would be great if it worked. But when the most accomplished political candidate in U.S. history, Kamala Harris, says the system's broken, why are we still sitting in the same shit? Why haven't we moved on? And this is not to say that you don't like, comment, and share. But I just eyeballs was like, holy shit, there's 25 people in here, and we're talking about like we should wake up every day and shout it from the rooftops, and it's like that's what I've been doing before we talked about it. Is every day for I don't know how long, I've put out a piece of content that has said the President of the United States, his wives, his children, his best friend, and his best friend's wife ran an international sex trafficking ring. And it wasn't all about the booty. It was about the current president being able to surround himself with world leaders and business leaders and then take pictures and video of them doing all sorts of fucking improper shit and having it documented and being able to blackmail Bill Gates, being able to blackmail anyone you want that was dumb enough to come be around you. And the thing that most people need to understand is when you hear like Epstein Island, I don't want you to think that the shit only happened there. One of the things that I just became aware of that I did not know is that, dude, Donald Trump and fucking Jeffrey Epstein owned buildings next to each other in New York City. Now, one was like a mansion and one was Trump Tower. But like they were neighbors in New York City. I'm sure he used this too, yeah. Yeah, Katie Johnson said he raped her in Trump Tower. Mhm. And what's fucking crazy is every time you see Diddy or Epstein and Trump, it's like Trump can just say that's not me. And somehow it's because he's buddies with the heads of all these big media companies. I'm telling you, Bob, I would be your neighbor in a fucking heartbeat, but I'm not chasing around minors with you. You know what I mean? Not happening. Um, like imagine running an international sex trafficking ring and it's the bait. It's not even like the whole point. The whole point was to entrap world leaders and business leaders and putting them in compromising situations with minors and taking pictures and video of it. I'll never forget how I have seen a picture floating around the internet of Bill Clinton getting a massage from a minor. And I'm like, so? You getting his fucking shoulders rubbed? What the fuck? Oh, that was on Epstein Island. And you're like, oh, that's not good. But yeah, I still think the Epstein list should come out. I don't care who's on it. I want to know what world leaders Donald Trump has dirt on. Know what I mean? Oh yeah. I honestly, I was always conflicted about Bill Gates because I thought he ended malaria, which was killing a lot of poor people. Um, but I read an article from Anonymous yesterday that was like that man used his power to silence the negative talk about himself. Zeke said Blackmail Island for sure. For sure. CNN data guru Harry Enton says President Donald Trump and the Republican Party are doomed in the midterms. I already said that. I already posted the link. Remember seeing an interview way back with Ivanka Trump, how her and Chelsea Clinton are good friends. They grew up together. Junior has a club in D.C. called the Executive Branch, so like-minded Republicans can gather and God knows what else. Oh my God. Saw that, Jared, with an anonymous, and then piece it together, right? So, yeah, like I've said before, you got to understand Donald J. Trump, for the better part of 30 years, donated like $35 million to the Democratic Party and considered himself a Democrat. But the way the Democrats have worked forever is that they're not going to let a fucking felon be an elected official within their party. And so Donald Trump got pushed away from the Republican Party or Democratic Party because they're like, he ain't gonna run for fucking office. He ain't gonna run as a Democrat. He's a fucking pedophile. And what happened? He ran. You want if you voted for Donald Trump, you voted for a pedophile. If you're still supporting Donald Trump, you fuck with pedophiles pretty hard. Hmm. Yeah, and we talked about recently how MAGA, how about Donald Trump was like gonna legalize weed, and within a week, because what happened? Remember, Donald Trump is all talk and no action. So it comes out, Donald Trump's thinking about making weed legal, and it didn't do shit for his numbers. Now he's like, fuck that then, since nobody decided they liked me because I dangled the fucking carrot. Take the carrot away. Now we're gonna make the carrot illegal. So just understand, this is disrupting probably the strongest part of many states' economies. Is legal marijuana. Hmm. I live in a state where the drug's illegal, but it's been decriminalized in the county I live in, and there are CBD and fucking places all over. I mean, there are two or three within walking distance. Hmm. Yeah. Sorry, Beck. Hopefully you don't have it out loud. And again, want to continue to show he's losing his own party. The leopards eat face party eats leopard face. I do want to point out that Stephen Miller has been right all along. Actually, he said that Washington D.C. he's surrounded by criminals, and it's like, yeah, the president like it has 34 felonies. What the fuck are you talking about? He's Donald Trump's the criminal. Like what the fuck are we talking about? Hmm. So here's a little ditty. ABC News. You know how I know they're not planning on violence? 800 National Guard troops working in shifts of 100 or 200 at a time. They're not anticipating, planning on. They don't even have rifles. They parked Humvees along the National Mall. Whoop de fucking do. Again, Donald Trump showing cognitive decline. Mm, great start for the day. Wirehouse and Capitol trying to best demonize DC. Burgers come to lose the White House. Miss how the U.S. before this man entered politics. They still do tours inside the White House. Right. Jill asked, "Do you think the FBI agents who had access to the Epstein files might be using them for other things?" Oh, for sure. Yeah, I imagine they're not allowing children to tour the White House anymore because of the presence of sex pests. I wouldn't let my kid go to the White House. I don't have kids, but still wouldn't let them go to the White House. But the president called St. Petersburg Leningrad. It's troubling. Not only does it show cognitive decline, Leningrad hasn't been a thing for 35 years, I think, somewhere in the 90s. Now, I want to continue to point out how improper it is for the President of the United States to use federal agents in the military to round up the homeless. But remember, I've been saying it's not left versus right; it's rich versus poor. And the President of the United States, a rich man, using his power and influence to demonize homeless people and kicking them off the steps of the U.S. Capitol is a class war move. hmm Remember, as I've been saying before, say no left or right shit. Now, don't get it twisted. This is a fucking far right fascist authoritarian fucking regime. But Zeke, I've always had a big problem with people being homeless, especially if it's like near where I live. And I'm going to say the worst thing I've ever said: about half of the homeless people I've ever met are just going to be homeless. There's a good percentage of the homeless people I've met that like don't deserve that, and like it's not permanent in your life at all. But there are some people that it's just like, oh, you can't live in a room with four walls if you're going to take them down. You know what I mean? There's just some people that just, and it's not good. I'm not saying like it's good that there are people that want to be homeless. It's just like, no, it's terrible that some people just don't fit in a home at all. Not of their own, you know what I mean? It's a sad state of affairs. There are people that are too far gone. hmm But like going into homeless camps where people are living in community and disrupting that is again, that's a class war act. Yeah. And one of the things that we need to say more often, when we fail to punish people like the IDF, we risk that behavior coming stateside. Also, he expects homeless people to know what's going on. Dude, they don't have access to TV, news, or True Social. Yeah, I seen that. I seen a federal agent ask a person, not a homeless person, ask a person, "Do you have Truth Social?" And they were like, "Why the fuck would I have Truth Social on my phone? Like, you need that so you can keep up with the president." And it's like, yeah, no, no. What this say? Bernie Sanders proposing a bill to protect Social Security. Something, something about to reignite Congress. In case you were wondering why, here's a USA Today story talking about how millions are going to lose Medicaid. And remember, of the millions of people that are going to lose Medicaid, most of those people aren't on social media. Most of those people don't have Facebook. They don't have Twitter. They don't have a smartphone. You know, I worked with the poor people for years, and they don't have iPhones. They don't have Androids. They might have a Cricket, but most of the time they just have a little payphone. So the thing about this is those people, those exact people that don't have Androids, don't have iPhones, don't use a computer, only use a Cricket or some sort of prepaid phone. They don't watch the news either. They can't afford that. You would be surprised how many people that I talk to every single day that are like, I don't have cable. You don't have cable. How much is your cell phone? $30. $30? Yeah, I have a Cricket. And I'm thinking like, you don't have cable. You don't have you have internet in your house? No. So you don't have cable. You don't have internet. You don't have a smartphone. They don't understand psychological issue. They just deem it weak. Yep. Yep. Beck said earbuds. Donald Trump's gonna give a Kennedy Center honor to someone that hates his fucking guts. Love to see it. Yep. They don't know all what's coming. Yep. And the thing about it is, and the thing about it is, when you're old and you're frail and you were struggling to fucking feed yourself anyway, and you have all kinds of health problems, and you ain't got nobody to help you because they're either all dead or they got problems of their own, and you lose your insurance, which was helping you pay bills and gave you money to go see a dentist and make sure that you have glasses and hearing aids when that fucking goes away. Oh, honey, I worked in that industry. I, I, I was the one taking a fucking ear beating from Mama and Papa trying to figure out their health care. hmm When I don't know if I told you this, but by the time I got to my grandmother and my grandpa, they had been on Medicare and shit for over 20 years, and they didn't have Medicare Advantage. They had a supplement and a prescription drug plan and a dental vision and hearing policy. I estimate that my grandparents overpaid for their health care by $300,000 because their local insurance man, who is reliant on them for his money, every year would just tell them, nah, keep your health care, keep your prescription drug plan and your standalone dental vision and hearing, standalone Medicare supplement that costs hundreds of dollars a month extra for two people. It was like more than $600 extra. So, like, over the course of their lifetime, in concert with having to pay when they go to use their health care, they also paid an extra like $700 a month. Mm-hmm. It's like $10,000 a year. Do that for like 20 years, a couple hundred grand. Mm-hmm. When they could have paid zero and just had Medicare Advantage the whole time and had one plan. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey, I've been fighting fires my whole life. I've been fighting these fires my whole life, just like Bob, except my fires are metaphorical. Mm-hmm. But yeah, but we should probably talk about the weather, and I gotta get out of here. I gotta go see a friend. I was gonna do eat the rich, but we gotta do all bot first, and I have to go to the bathroom. So, but yeah, have a happy Thursday, everybody. Everything is fucked, and everybody sucks. Here's the Mayor Adams vetoing a bill boosting New York grocery delivery worker wages after being lobbied by Amazon. So you can never vote for these people. All right. Low weather intensity score. Holy shit. Again, we got to point out. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. If you notice, the left half of the country is on fire. If y'all see, you see why I say, hey, see this line right here? This line? This line? That's like the eastern edge of Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico. From the eastern edge of these states west, y'all shit's on fire. Okay? Looks like there's a storm. What is that? Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, a little bit of rain. Looks like Carolinas are getting some rain. Up, up, up. What's this over here? Down here in Louisiana, Mississippi. Okay. And then you see that guy right there? Hey, hey, hurricane coming. Okay. So low weather score today. You're not gonna get like a long stream because there's a bunch of naders or anything. Um, As I've been saying, like, um, thinking about everybody not having access to things like National Weather Service. Um, really need. New Mexico is actually pretty progressive, at least getting there. Yeah, and I'm all for it. Yeah, here comes Hurricane Aaron. So wetness, see, yeah, yeah. Every day we go to check the weather. I'm like, what am I supposed to say? The left half of the country is on fire. Like, if you live in the left half of the country, your shit's on fire. If you live in the right half of the country, you're gonna drown. Right? There's just like flood every fucking day in places that don't normally flood. hmm I think this is what rural America gets for voting for Donald Trump. Like, you don't have the infrastructure to help. You voted against that. I mean, look at that. What's that county in Texas? Kerr County. There is video of their elected officials declining aid in terms of putting up weather balloons and satellite because we don't want liberal money. And hey, 100 plus kids missing. A couple of them died. Or 100 died? I don't remember. Bob said his cousin Aaron lives in Jacksonville, Florida. That's not who we're talking about, Bob, but that's nice. I'm just giving you a hard time, Bob. Just giving you shit. All right, let's listen to a little bit of Eat the Rich and get the fuck out of here, huh? I'm just giving you a hard time, Bob. Please don't take offense. What's up? Welcome. You're at the tail end of a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. Here are the DC police putting a bag over a homeless person. Okay. It's important to remember that while the world wants you to look left and right for people to blame Grand Slammer, but you know Babe Ruth, you gotta learn how to relate. Oh, bro, you got the right key, baby, but the wrong. Okay. So, hey, have a great rest of your day. Appreciate you all for being here. When I was saying, like, hey, we talk about getting a message to the powers that be, as I've said, I'll do it. I'll make a video every day saying I'm pretty sure the President of the United States, his wives, his children, his best friend's wife ran an international sex trafficking ring for the better part of 20 years with the intent of being able to blackmail and extort anyone dumb enough to fucking party with them. So, hey, have a fantastic rest of your day. Okay?